This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and today I have an ECW original with me. Angel Orsini also has had a hand in some MMA over the years and shoot fighting, and is still an active wrestler today. Looking as beautiful as always. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good, but I'm gonna guess you didn't hear the news that just popped out that Stephanie McMahon resigned about WWE. What do you think about that?
Whoa, that's intense. That throws a wrench in everything. Oh,
Oh, I'm still here. I just take myself out when the person answers.
oh,
I
cool.
hate I hate looking at myself. So yeah, but yeah, no, it's crazy all the backstage stuff going on right now. What do you make of all of it? With
I mean, I guess it's even competitive within the family. Some people want all the power, I guess, and they think their way is the way. I mean, it's it's very interesting. I can't wait to see how this plays out.
And poor Shade, like he wasn't even involved in any of this. It seems like he was out it a while ago.
Um, it's really important for a show that the backstage is organized and that people stay on their schedule, that people know where they need to be and what they're doing ahead of time, because this requires you to be relaxed. The more relaxed you are as a wrestler before you go out there, so that you just focus on what you are doing and your character and you really get into it, it's like this beautiful art. But if you have all this like back house drama and you're like, where am I? What who are my people? Yeah, it's really hard to like concentrate and focus on being the best that you can be.
Yeah, at this point, they should almost just do a reality show of the behind the scenes stuff and scrap the wrestling for a while.
They can have people wrestle in the ring and not do the promos anymore, and then do nothing but the backbiting and the backstabbing backstage.
Yeah, because there's apparently a rumor out there too that apparently Triple H may have cheated on Stephanie McMahon at one point prior to his heart attack. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff floating around. So I guess it's going to be an exciting year for the fans to hear about all this.
Good. I think that's great. Um,
Now you were an athlete before you got into wrestling. Could you tell us a bit about your athletic background?
Oh, absolutely. I've been a lifelong martial artist. I started when I was in my early late teenager. I've always been an athlete. I always did track and field in grade school, high school, um, gymnastics, and then that just progressed into martial arts. I got my black belt in Taekwondo, and then I became an instructor, and I loved it. It was great. I ran a school in Margate, Florida. I had like 350 students. I loved it. I had kids that were 4 years old, and then there were people that were in their 60s just trying to get their black belt. It was great. And then I got the opportunity to train with Bart Vale and progress from just stand-up fighting to grappling. So I took that opportunity, and then I went to Japan and I fought no holds barred for the Queendom Highest Wars. It was an amazing experience. And then I decided to get involved in pro wrestling when I came back, and I got trained by Liz Chase. And then the last 6 weeks of my training was with China, and my first match was with China. It was awesome.
Oh wow! So that was, I guess, after she had just finished with WWE. Then I would imagine.
No, that was before she went to WWE.
Oh, really? Wow. What
Yeah,
was she like as a person? It's really sad what happened with her.
it was, she was a great inspiration to me and a great mentor for that short amount of time. She really made a big impact on me. She was so disciplined with working out and what she ate. She measured her food. She just was an incredible athlete. She was so strong. She leg pressed the whole entire every single weight that you could put on the leg press, and they couldn't fit any more weight. And then she asked me to get on top of it. And I sat on top of it to add another 150 pounds. And she leg pressed that for like 10. It was crazy, man. I never saw anybody that strong.
So I guess you would have been around when she was just dating Triple H then and just meeting him and kind of getting in her foot in the door there.
I mean, yeah, I know that she trained at Killer Kowalski's and she was pretty close with everybody that was through there. I mean, they were pretty tight knit crew school to go to, and Walter really trained everybody the right way, old school. He was an amazing man, and so imagine it, and I know that she was close with a bunch of people that were through that school, so it wasn't a surprise that she ended up that she was dating him.
What was Killer Kowalski like when you met him?
Oh my God, he was so his hand was so big, and he was just such this larger than life person. And you just knew when you met him, if you didn't know that he was a wrestler, you knew he had to be involved in boxing or fighting of some kind, because of his stature. But he was very soft spoken, gentlemanly. I always thought he was just so uber respectful, and he was always cracking like those dad jokes, and it was like,
Now, you went into MMA before wrestling. Were you a wrestling fan at all growing up, or were you more of a fan of real fighting or competitive fighting, I should say?
I watched wrestling when I was little girl. I loved Coco Beware. He was my favorite. And Ricky the Steamboat. And but then, I was busy with my own sports, so I wasn't like one of those kids that watched a lot of TV. I was always flipping around, being a maniac, riding my motorcycle, or not a motorcycle, like one of those little dirt bikes, uh, or ATV, um, playing basketball outside, just being outside. I'm not an indoor person.
Where did you grow up?
Jersey, not in one town or even in one county. Um, my parents got divorced when I was young, so I was always be bopping around between one of my parents or my grandparents, and I didn't have a lot of stability. So sports kept me stable and really helped me stay focused on school and setting and achieving goals. I'm still doing that. And I will never stop doing that.
Were you a street fighter before you got into MMA, or you just liked fighting for the sport?
Well, I used to watch like all kinds of fighting. I admire and respect all of those talents and abilities. I understand what it takes to be at the top of any kind of competitive sport. It requires a lot of sacrifice. So I respect that right off the bat. And to be like one of the best in the world in anything, to even be a ranked fighter in anything, you have to be so amazingly good. And it takes so many years of doing amateur tournaments and building up and getting a reputation for yourself that people can count on you to show up, be ready to fight, be professional. You know, yeah, I love watching all sports.
So I guess after the MMA training, the pro wrestling training, wasn't that tough for you to go through?
Um, it's very painful. It's a different kind of pain. In MMA, you feel the soreness and you just push through that kind of pain. But in pro wrestling, it's like pain down to the bone. It's a different kind of pain. It rearranges your ribs and your sternum, even your hands change after so many years of smacking out to take those bumps.
So how was your first match against China? Did that go smoothly or was it kind of awkward like a lot of people's first matches?
No, it was great. I think we went like 12 to 17 minutes, which is a long time for somebody to have for their first match. We performed in front of probably like 2,000, 3,000 bikers at the Iron Horse Saloon in Ormond Beach, Florida for Biketoberfest. And if that wasn't intimidating, to be the first match out there on a show with Luna Vachon and your trainer and a bunch of other big name lady wrestlers. I'll tell you, it was a super blessed experience I will never forget.
Do you have any stories about Luna that you could share with us? She's obviously one of the greatest women wrestler, but for some reason, I think they put her in the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame instead of the real wing. I don't quite understand that.
Oh, I don't know, but we inducted her into the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame this year, 2023. Her, Jazz, and Medusa were the first three women to be inducted. We did that at Philadelphia and ECW Arena, the 2300 building. And those three women absolutely deserved it. They deserved that recognition for being the pioneers of women's wrestling that they were the standard bearers. And, they held it down. They gave solid wrestling matches their whole careers. And they really made other people bigger stars than they would have been without them.
Did the females rough you up at all when you first got in there? Because when I was starting off, I did notice like some of the veterans would definitely be a little bit more stiff with you when you're talking about a little bit further back than modern times as far as for a new person breaking in.
Um, I would say people probably think that I'm one of those types of veteran wrestlers because I top. Like I do strong style, so that intimidates some people, but I'm always safe. I've never hurt anybody. I'm just a very solid performer. It would make me very mad actually if you went to hit me and you missed me by so far and you thought that I was going to make it seem like you hit me. I don't know.
Did you see that on SmackDown like maybe a month ago? The one guy did a dive and missed the ball, but worse than that, they all still bumped. Like
I
how do you still bump when the guy doesn't touch you? Like
I don't know, man. They're a better worker than I am.
yeah, like
I
I
think I
mean,
would have like kicked him or kneed him or something. Like I don't know. To make us all go down then maybe, I don't know. I just
yeah, you would think they would improvise and just attack him, but I guess they're so used to following the steps of the matches these days in that promotion and
yeah.
worried about getting fired. They just did what was planned, even though he didn't touch any of them. But it was funny, I guess.
It was funny for me. I was like, "Whoa."
Top Dollar, I think his name was. But I think you also toured Peru with Lita before ECW. How was that?
Yes, I did. That was amazing. We had great matches. She was so easy to work with and everybody just loved her. I could have done that all day, all night, every day of the week. That was so easy. Peru is an amazing place. We got to go way up in the Andes Mountains in this village, and that was an incredible experience. But the one thing was that they had a boxing ring. It wasn't a wrestling ring. And so there was no spring in the center to give those boards give. And we were like after the intermission. So all these big, huge guys were wrestling before us, and they made these big, huge holes in the boards. And when we got in there and we had to finally have our match, we couldn't even be in the center of the ring. We couldn't use the ropes. They were like totally kiboshed. So we just fought out in the crowd and did one of those kind of matches, and then just came back, fought outside the ring as much as possible, and until the very end when it was time to go home.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. I was on a show once that was in a boxing ring, and there was only one match that actually took bumps in it, and they ended up getting good reaction, but everyone else found other ways around it. But how did you get discovered or recommended for ECW?
Well, I had to go on campaign for a while to get a job. So I just started showing up. Well, I was invited by Jason Knight. I had met Jason. His girlfriend was one of my good friends, and she kept getting in his ear about me. And they already had Lita, and they were going to hire Jazz and then hire Jazz. So I started campaigning like, hey, hire me. I can wrestle. We can all have matches. And maybe start a women's division in ECW. Could you imagine if ECW had a women's television champion title belt? How incredible would that have been?
It would have been good, but I'm not sure at that time there was a huge amount of women wrestlers. You would know better than me, but that seemed to be before like tons of women started to try and get into it.
Well, I mean, I knew who all the good girls were. I mean, WEW didn't get started too long after that, like 2002, 2003. If somebody was looking really hard, they could have found some really good girl wrestlers, especially in the southern states.
Rec 46 wants to know your thoughts on Paul Heyman, and I want to know what your initial thoughts were when you first met this guy, because there was all this controversy about him in those days.
Well, I'm a pretty smart girl. So one of the things I would say is when you go to meet somebody in this business and there's all this like controversy around them, take it all with a grain of salt, because a lot of that is hype. You're not going to be a successful person without critics. And part of what elevates you are your critics and silencing your critics. And Paul had a lot of critics, and he some of his relationships with some of the wrestlers, were not what people expected. It didn't meet their expectations. So I wasn't in the middle of their controversy, so I don't really know both sides of all of that. But I can say I never had any controversy with Paul, and I was always grateful for the opportunity that he gave me, and he always took time to give me feedback. And he's a genius in wrestling, and if somebody is that talented, people are not going to like you just because of that, and they're going to resent you, and they're going to look for things to say negative about you to try to put you down or take you down a couple of pegs. That's part of this business. That's my least favorite part of this business. I think everybody deserves respect and to be valued for their talent. I think there's so many incredibly talented people in this business that haven't gotten the opportunity, and what a shame that is. So it's subjective. Wrestling is like an art that you're going to have some people that are going to say hated it, and some people that are going to be like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. So, but that's wrestling. It's a good thing we have that, because if
Yeah,
nobody cared about it and nobody had anything to say, we wouldn't be having a podcast about it, right?
that's true. And it is unfortunate that now it seems like WWE doesn't even look as much at indie stars. They're more concerned with hiring college athletes, training them from scratch, and hiring back people that don't even wrestle when they're fired. Like Bo Dallas, I guess he's back now, and I never heard of him having one match during the years that he was gone. And there's indie wrestlers out there working for $50 every weekend that never get a shot. So it's not fair in some ways. But how was the ECW locker room for you?
Well, it had a little bit of everything. That's for sure. You had like super serious people like Lance Storm, who were like straight edge, amazing. And then you had people like Sandman and New Jack and um the smoking section in one area, the drinking section in another area. It's just but everybody worked so hard and put 1,000% of everything they had into their character, into their style, their presentation. And it was so cutting edge and so raw and so like rebellious compared to what this nice structured wrestling used to be. I mean, it was great to be in that locker room. The vibes were, everybody was just family, and even though there were people who did not like each other at all, they still respected each other because everybody knew what it took to be there. And we all had each other's backs, even though we didn't like each other. Some of us, or whoever. I liked everybody. I loved everybody, but it's hard when you're on the road. Part of what people don't understand who aren't wrestlers is, you're doing this to your body. Your whole entire day is nothing about being on the show, having this one match, doing this promo, and then you sacrifice living like human beings do, going to their home every day, being comfortable. There is no comfort. It's rough. Sometimes you don't get sleep, you don't rest well, your hours are crazy, your body is sore, sometimes you're injured. And on top of it, you might not get to keep your eating schedule. And for a lot of us, our eating schedule is very important to our energy level. And you get your energy level low, and then it's easy to just pop off at people and lose your patience and be a jerk. It happens.
Speaking of Sandman, I actually like him a lot as a person, and he's underrated as a performer. Do you have any stories about him to share with us?
Yeah, there was the time we were in Pensacola, Florida, and the Sandman got naked in the ring. That's crazy.
Oh, I heard about that. Yes, please. I think Just Incredibles talked about that. Could you share that one?
Yeah. So I knew it was going to be rough the day before, because the day before we were in, my dogs are being annoying right now. Okay. We were in New Orleans, and the Sandman and a bunch of the boys were drinking and smoking in the locker room, and they were already, and I was like, man, we're in New Orleans. It's going to be a rough night. Bourbon Street might not make it. And then the next day was Pensacola. And when they showed up at the building, they looked like they didn't ever go to sleep. They looked like they just drank all night and all the way to the show. I I mean, I was scared for them. So I think they made the matches like really nothing. He's just supposed to cut a promo. And in the back, he had dropped his drawers already, and people encouraged this behavior. I don't know why, but they did. They started throwing money at him, making it rain. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be bad because I don't think this is going to stop now. I think it's only getting worse. And sure enough, when he went out there, he was cutting his promo, and then he couldn't even spell beer, and he had a beer in his hand, and he goes, I'm gonna get my next BER beer. And he was like, and then I'm gonna give you everybody something to make them come or something like that. He dropped his pants. And he took a step and he fell on his face. I was standing next to Paul and Danny Doring and Chris Chetty, and we were looking at this, and we were just like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. And Paul was just like, oh my God. I saw a woman try to cover the eyes of her kid. There had been a radio station that had been covering this live. So people had left the show and heard about it on the radio. The Sandman was naked in the middle of the ring.
If there was cell phone cameras in that day, that would have been international news.
Oh man. Oh, he got in trouble for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was towards the end, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was actually the day we had the meeting where Paul told us that he was in negotiations to sell ECW and that we were going to get a better TV deal.
How did you get along with Francine? There's a fan on here asking about her.
Oh, I always got along great with Francine and actually all the women at ECW. It was only after ECW that I had a falling out with Jasmine St. Clair.
Okay, I'm not even really that familiar with Jasmine St. Clair. What happened there?
She was not a part of WEW, and I guess that she was mad about that, and so she just started talking crap about everybody that was in WEW, calling girls out, calling them all kinds of nasty names. It's really not a smart thing to do when you can't really wrestle and then you start picking on girls who really can wrestle. Like, you don't call me a name and be a non-wrestling girl. Come on now.
Was there ever an in-person confrontation, or was it more online back and forth?
No, it was more I think like on a podcast type of a thing, and then I saw her at a diner and she started talking shit, and I don't remember if it was Raven or it might have been Gary Wolf picked her up and had to take her away or is gonna smack the shit out of her.
Ali's Wrestling Collectibles, or Al's Wrestling Collectibles, wants to know your worst wrestling injury.
My worst wrestling injury was when I was wrestling Sumi Sakai in a ladder match at the 2300 building, and my stupid referee didn't hold my ladder. And because she didn't hold my ladder, when I jumped off the ladder kicked back and it didn't give me any distance. So I didn't make it to the table, and I broke both my feet. I actually shattered my one foot. I have 2 rods that go through my foot and 10 stainless steel screws. They put it back together after a 6.5 hour surgery.
Oh wow. Did the company at least cover the bill for the surgery?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Bobby Lincoln wants to know, how was it working with Simon Diamond?
Oh, Pat is a great guy. What an amazing wrestling brain he has. He is so talented. And he really helped me a lot. He was so good at doing promos, and watching him and listening to him help us, because we were doing all those crazy, you know, sideshow freak promos. He was just great to work with. He made everybody feel great, and um, it was great timing of everything, great psychology. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, for those that don't know, you were part of the Sideshow Freak stable and known as the Pro Digit, whatever that is. Maybe you could explain that. And for anyone not familiar with the stable, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, the Prodiget. So my storyline was that I was with the prodigy Tom Marquez, and I was his little sister. So I was trying to copy him and be just like him. And I was like that annoying little kid sister. So he was the prodigy, I was the prodiget. I think we tag teamed in a couple of tag matches for hardcore TV. Yeah, because I got put through Flaming Table. So
Oh,
that
wow. What was that like? Just to interject for a second. That's crazy.
it was crazy. I had to wet my hair down ahead of time. It was Balls Mahoney that put me through the table. I think it was oh no, I don't remember what the name of that pay-per-view was. It was like March, April of 2000. Yeah. Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Crazy. And as far as New Jack, have anything to share about him? I did one of his last interviews, got along with him the couple times I met him, but he definitely has an eccentric side.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I'll tell you, what a great guy. He was a great brother to me. He helped me a lot. I actually went and trained with Jack several times. Plus, he would run kind of like a seminar. If you went to ECW and you were a wrestler and you wanted to try out, you would kind of have to attend like a seminar workout. And then if you were really good, they might give you a chance with one of the others to earn a spot, have a tryout, maybe come out as part of a faction or something. And he would always run that stuff. And he really cared about everybody. And he really tried to teach everybody something on how to be better version of themselves, as a wrestler. And Jack was a very good wrestler. I remember the one time that he was teaching everybody in the tryouts, and somebody talked some shit like, oh, well, I don't really want to get cut with a fork and then have a whole match. And somebody was talking like that. And he was like, oh, yeah, come on. And he like grabbed him and he did, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, and ran a whole bunch of spots. And he was perfect in the hard cam side where you needed to be. And then the person rolled out and they were like, all right, I'm going to shut up. And then he was like, and everybody was like, yeah, he popped the wrestlers watching.
That's pretty cool. The Bandit wants to know if you ever dated any of the male wrestlers.
No, that is not what I was there for. I was dating a boxer while I was in ECW, and then I wasn't dating.
What was the schedule like while you were working there? I know it was at the tail end. Were they still running a good amount of shows?
Oh yeah, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday there were shows. Yep. It was great experience.
Big Fish wants to know, did you ever talk to the hat guy?
The who?
The hat guy.
Oh yeah. I know he's got his own podcast or his own production. Yeah, they were great, man. The ECW fans had their own gimmicks. That was a whole nother, dimension to ECW that no wrestling had ever had before, where if people were a gimmick in the audience before, then they were a wrestler. They were just starting an angle. ECW fans were the first fans to ever have their own gimmick. It's great. I mean, it was an experience. Being hardcore, being ECW, being extreme was an experience for everybody, not just the wrestlers, but the fans.
And it was the first time that fans really critiqued matches and started the "you fucked up" chants. And it seems to have faded out now, but I remember like in the early 2000s, it was definitely there. The fans were really critical of the matches for the wrestlers, where that never existed in the past for live fans, really to the same extent.
Yeah, true that. But the funny thing is, wrestlers have that for themselves. Like being a wrestler, you hate to have a mess up. A lot of people are so they put so much pressure on themselves to have a perfect match exactly the way you planned it. And sometimes it's not fun as a wrestler to have to I'm gonna lift my arm exactly this way at this time. Like, listen, I've been wrestling 26 years. I want to have fun wrestling, and I want to feel the crowd in the match with me. I want to take them on a ride, baby. They're riding the wave when they come to an Angel Orsini match. And that's what ECW was about. It was giving them an experience.
I agree with that. It takes the fun out of it when somebody wants to plan it move for move rather than just go out there and battle it out and go wherever the fans take you. Rec 46 wants to know what you think of Ronda Rousey and her career at the moment as another woman that went from MMA to pro wrestling.
So as a wrestler, what I will tell you is she's getting repackaged. That's what you do. It gets boring if the story stays the same. Can't stay the same. So it's a transition period, and they're going to figure out what they're going to do with her and repackage her wherever it is that they need her. If she's going to be a baby face or a heel, you got to rotate in people and talent. It gets boring for the fans if it's the same people all the time. And as you're bringing in new talent like the WWE is, that new talent can't get used to just being around one veteran kind of leader. They need different flavors because all those veterans are going to see what it is that they're, need to work on to get the new people up to the next level. So that's all that is. It's just circulating everybody out. And then this way it keeps everybody fresh with the fans and they're less likely to get injured. It's good to rotate them in and out, give the body some rest.
Who were some of the wrestlers in ECW that advised you and helped you with your character? Because I understand a lot of the veterans there would often help the younger guys and girls in the company with ideas and stuff.
Well, for me, it always started with Tommy Dreamer and Simon Diamond and Bill Wiles. And then every once in a while, New Jack might add this to it, or Balls, or Jason. When Jason was there, he kind of left shortly after I got there. And the Sandman. I mean, pretty much everybody.
And of course, you feuded with Jazz, somebody I know personally and I have a lot of respect for, and is still in the business training wrestlers and helping provide talent for like WOW and AEW. Any memories of working with her?
I still work with Jazz. We're Jazz is a part of the Mad Dogs of War, Pitbull, Revolution, um, her and Rodney, and we're putting together a pack. So it's Gary Wolf, Pitbull #1, of course, and we all wear the #2 patch to remember Anthony. And then we have Pitbull #3, the Intimidator, Chris Anino. I am Pitbull #4. And then we got Jazz and Rodney and Mustafa, Jason Knight. And we're adding people all the time to our faction. We are the full revolution.
That's quite a crew, and I think Jason Knight is doing an interview on this channel sometime this month, and all those other people already have. So, wow, I didn't know that. What's making you guys have your comeback now? I know you've been around the whole time, but as a group like this.
So this is about legacy. You know, the Pitbulls is a great gimmick. It's the epitome of an ECW original. You know, we just run in there and break shit. That's what we're all about. And that's kind of like, you know, what ECW was about, and having those street fights and tables matches. And you know, we decided that we got to carry that torch and keep that alive, because ECW fans are still out there, and there's a whole new generation of ECW fans that are just learning about ECW now through the streaming stuff that's on Peacock, right? And we still get the same reaction when we go out there. And we will continue to get that same reaction, because that's our style, baby. We're still killing it. We slay all day. And now we get a chance to work with the younger people and bring in some of the upcoming talent, and do some rivalries and build some territories where we have some good matches, and then change the story around. You never know, you know, who's going to branch off and start their own faction. And yeah, man, we still got a lot more left in us, baby.
Good to hear. Rick Brooks wants to know, what is your favorite rock band? You definitely look like a rocker.
I have so many. Um, Five Finger Death Punch, Slipknot, Black Label Society. I love heavy metal. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Rob Zombie, White Zombie.
I like that Jekyll and Hyde song from Five Finger Death Punch. Do you know it?
You gotta give me some bars.
No, I won't do that. But that's pretty cool. Someone wants to know, did Paul Heyman owe you any money when the promotion faded away?
No. I think
One
that
of you wants to know any memories of your in-ring confrontation with Dawn Marie.
yeah, that was interesting. You know, I was a villainess, so I had to get a little ECW'd a little bit. You know, I had to give the people what they wanted. They wanted to see me get shut up by somebody, you know, so and humiliated. So I was like, all right, sometimes you got to give the people what they want. But then, you know, you can hear me every time I was walking out of the entranceway. You know, I was like hardcore on the crowd. I'd be like, fuck you, asshole, you know, right in their faces, giving them, and they would be like, going crazy. And oh man, they wanted to see me get my ass beat. They hated me.
Alfie wants to know, based on the current products, are you more of an AEW person or a WWE person?
Um, I love it all. Are you kidding me? I mean, I really enjoy AEW matches. Don't get me wrong. I think AEW has picked up where ECW left off. I really do think they're like a really good combination of ECW and WCW, the best parts of it. Um, I love it that there's wrestling on every day. It's great for me that I could just go click and watch wrestling on TV whenever I want. I love that. I think it's great for the business. I think it's great for wrestlers. I'm a wrestler, so I want to see good wrestling on TV. I would be upset if I was watching TV and it was bad wrestling. Then, you know, I would say I'm really glad to see the women have the platform and have as many matches as they have on TV now, because when I was trying to get a spot, it was like one girls match on a whole entire week of wrestling, and now girls get matches like sometimes 3 on a show. That's yes. Yes, serve it to me, darling. Put some icing on it. Yes, thank you very much.
Richard wants to know your thoughts on Jerry Lynn, who I believe pile drived you at least one time in ECW.
I love Jerry Lynn. He is great. He is one of the best wrestlers, like Jerry Lynn and RVD. I am so spoiled how many times I got to see them wrestle each other. I just, the best wrestling. I think it sets the stage for a lot of the wrestlers that you see now, like on AEW, the top flight guys and Swerve and the guy Ricochet on WWE. Those guys, I think they owe Rey Mysterio and RVD like some money, like because they set that. And Super Crazy, oh man, just great stuff.
Yeah, our RVD is great, and you seem like you definitely would have got along with him behind the scenes. If I assume he was still there when you were there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I still do. His new wife, she's amazing. He's living his best life, dude.
Oh, he looks like a very happy man. What a great guy he is. Somebody wants to know, speaking of RVD, how did you like working with Bill Alfonso, who was managing RVD?
Oh, Fonzie's great. I just saw him not too long ago. Yeah, and when I go down to Florida, I definitely see him because he's by Gary Wolf. So, I mean, I'll be seeing them soon. I love Fonzie. He's great. You know, what a great way to have a referee, right? And how to be innovative with that and make a new standard and do something completely different in wrestling. I mean, that's very commendable when so many things have already been done in wrestling. To be new, to be the first one to do it this way, to do it different. I always admire that creativity in somebody else. It's just amazing. He's amazing talent.
Somebody would like to know, do you think women in today's wrestling show enough flesh? I like they obviously show a lot, but not as much as the ECW days.
Um, you know, there's always going to be somebody that's going to complain about too much of that, but I just think people should be free to wear whatever they want to wear. It's totally up to the person's personal choice.
So this person wants to know if you think there should be a big women's only wrestling federation. WOW, I don't think it gets enough publicity because it actually gets better ratings than Impact, but we always hear more about Impact than the Women of Wrestling promotion. But do you think there should be a more major women's only promotion?
Absolutely. The more, the better. The more opportunity you have, then what you do is you're setting a new goal for people that have that talent to say, "Ooh, if I put my efforts here, I might get that opportunity there," and that's how that works. You know, what's that movie? If I build it, they will come, with Kevin Costner, right? The baseball diamond when he
Oh yeah, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. That's what it is, you know. I think opportunity is not equally distributed. So if there can be a federation for women only, good for women. I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah, I know that women's wrestling gets a lot of YouTube views, more so than guys overall. But there's a fan on here that wants to know, if you hadn't been a wrestler, what would you have done? I believe you are into other stuff, dog rescue, which is very commendable. But how would you answer that question?
Well, my other job that I have now, I do project management for technology related um, projects. So because of my goal setting and how into goal setting and strategic planning I've been in my whole life, I learned this skill of project management, and I love doing that. Um, Problem solving, strategic planning. But I could easily have stuck with martial arts and still be teaching or running a school. I still take martial arts classes. I love, I'll always be a supporter of martial arts. And I am a health and wellness coach. I'm certified in that. And I've been putting together a curriculum for people who want to learn how to change and overcome anxiety, depression, and other kind of mental wellness issues, if you will. And also, a lot of times that's coupled with people trying to change their eating habits or getting more fit. So I've created a combination program for people that's very customizable, and I'll be launching that soon. And I'm also producing a women's wrestling documentary. It's associated with the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. And we have some other films, independent films, that we're just about ready to wrap. And we will be releasing probably the end of this year, and then another one next year.
Well, that's pretty cool, and I hope you come back on and talk to us more around the times that those get released. I know you have Facebook on social media. Where else can fans follow you?
My website is angelorsini.net. We're in the process of updating that. And elevatedliving.life is the health and wellness coaching website. I'm on Facebook, the Angel Orsini, and Twitter is the same, and Instagram is the same. And I'm in the process of connecting my website to all of the social medias so that it's going to start posting as we get closer to launching the health and wellness program so people won't miss it.
Well, I encourage everyone to follow that, and I thank you very much for your time. Great to talk to you. It's great to see a nice, positive person in wrestling, still with the passion for the business. And I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans or promote before we go today.
Sure. If you're interested in getting started in wrestling, I strongly suggest ECPW Wrestling School. It's in Parsippany, New Jersey. It's run by Gino Caruso, and he has helped many amazing wrestlers learn wrestling, like Nunzio and Enzo, and I don't even know, so many, Luke Gallows, so many people trained through their Crowbar, Sunny Kiss, and Private Party. Yeah, it's a great wrestling school. Also, this Saturday in Tom's River, I'm wrestling for Find Yourself Wrestling. We're doing the first ever Balls Mahoney Memorial Cup, Royal Rumble or Battle Royal. I don't know what the rules are for that because I'm not in that. I'm actually wrestling Guido Nunzio. Angel Amorosa is going to be managing him, and Jason Knight's going to be managing me, along with the Pitbull number 3, my bodyguard. And you can go on my Facebook to get tickets, the Angel Orsini. And next month, I'll be wrestling for Texas Championship Wrestling and at the Goddesses of War, February 25th. So I'll see you at a wrestling show soon. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos,